And you know what time it is? It's time for KP's Video News. KP's Video News, y'all. KP's Video News, y'all.
That's right, it's KP's Video News, y'all. Newsflash, newsflash. This is straight hot. This just came off the fire. Breonna Taylor case, grand jury recordings released a week after no officers were charged in her death. Roughly 20 hours of grand jury recordings in the controversial Breonna Taylor decision were released today, allowing the public to see what evidence was presented by Kentucky Attorney General Cameron's office in the high-profile case. The recordings released today at 11:40 a.m. cover the grand jury sessions September 21st to the 23rd are parsed into 14 audio files with witnesses' personal information redacted because of concerns of threats that have been made to officials and officers. And let's see. No written transcripts have been released. The recordings reveal exactly who the Kentucky grand jury heard from and what they said that led to the decision to charge a former Louisville detective with felony wanton endangerment on the March 13th shooting, but not Taylor's death. A week ago, the grand jury indicted former Louisville detective Brett Hankerson on 3 counts of wanton endangerment. The charges against Hankerson, who was fired by the department this summer, are related to the shots he fired into a neighboring apartment where 3 white neighbors live. The officers who shot Taylor, Mattingly, and Cosgrove were not charged. The lack of charges reinvigorated protests in Louisville and sparked new demonstrations across the country and across the world. 26-year-old Taylor, an ER technician, was killed shortly before 1 a.m. on March 13th when officers came to her apartment looking for drugs and cash as part of a larger narcotics investigation connected to her former boyfriend, and she was shot 6 times. And so anyway, they have they got the video, they got the audio of the grand jury investigation, and so I'm waiting on them to release the actual written transcripts so I could do a story on that. But in the meantime, that's a news flash. Oh yeah, another news flash. News flash number 2. Dunk Master's in jail. Oh no, man. I started to catch up on my Dunk Master, watching Dunk Master episodes. The guy, the Dunk Master man is out there, the drag racing the dunks. I think he's from like South Carolina. Anyway, he ended up getting 6 months in jail. And man, free Dunk Master. Man, I'm sorry, man, that guy, it really kind of messed me up. Cause I was, really just getting into watching him, and now all of a sudden, in this latest episode, he ended up going to jail for 6 months. But free Dunk Master. Anyway, this next stage of this of my story here, and it seems to me to kind of sideways quote Brother Malcolm. It seems to me that the virus bat has come home to roost. That's right, the virus bat has come home to roost. And so you got Donald Trump announced that he had tested positive for the coronavirus, and it has raised many questions about the infection, what an infection could mean for the health of America's top leader. In a statement, the president's physician stated that Trump, who is 74 years old, was well, but did not say whether he was experiencing symptoms. He said the president would stay isolated in the White House for now. Here's what we know about the coronavirus could affect people of his general profile. Older men are at greater risk of becoming seriously sick. older men are up to twice likely to die from COVID, the disease caused by the coronavirus, as women of the same age are, according to an analysis of the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Another study published in Nature in August found that was because men produce a weaker immune response than women do. The potential for needing hospitalization raises after the age 50, and so obesity poses another risk factor, particularly in young men, among men. If you don't know anything about Trump, just knowing that he's a male over 70 and appears to be overweight, right away you can say he's in a high risk group. Still, many people his age have recovered from COVID, even though the risk of severe illness from COVID increases with age. Most people who contracted get well quickly with minimum symptoms. The good news is that even people who have a number of risk factors on average do well. Only a minority have illnesses and severe consequences. A lot of people his age who get COVID are actually fine, said Benjamin Cowling, head of the Division of Epidemiology and Biostatistics at the University of Hong Kong. Outcome could be complicated if Trump has certain underlying health conditions. Trump, White House officials, and his doctor have maintained in recent months that the president was in good shape, blah, 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 and said the president weighed 244 pounds, which makes him slightly obese. And if he doesn't have diabetes, high blood pressure, or any long-term illness, then the outcome probably won't be severe, said David Hu, the Chinese University of Hong Kong. Experts agree that next week will be critical in determining the course of Trump's illness. And also his wife also tested positive. So Dr. Fauci has said the good news about COVID is about 40% of those who get infected never develop symptoms. Treatment will depend on the severity of his illness, and experts agree that Trump's treatment regimen will depend on whether he develops symptoms in the coming days. So I guess you can, since now that you got it, you can try some of that bleach that you was out there talking about. You can try some of those Lysol injections or the ultraviolet light under the skin, or you can try some of that hydrochloroquine that you've been trying to talk about so much. Yep, the virus bat has come home to roost in D.C. I'm telling you. And then you have, so the future of the country hinges on Trump's health, and we can't trust that he's actually telling the truth about even having the disease. So, it's so you have the White House coronavirus advisor Scott Atlas stated that there's nothing to worry about, but I anticipate a complete and full and rapid recovery back to normal after his necessary confinement period. I anticipate he'll be back on the road and in full swing, Atlas stated. And after the interview aired, Fox anchor Chris Wallace did something unusual. He told viewers that Atlas is claiming certainty that he can't possibly have and should simply be ignored. Dr. Scott Atlas is not an epidemiologist, is not an infectious disease specialist. He has no training in this area at all, Wallace stated. Listen to people like Dr. Fauci. Listen to people like Deborah Birx, who have been largely cut off. Listen to the independent people who don't have a political axe to grind. And I don't think Scott Atlas is one of those people. In about a minute of commentary, Wallace highlighted one of the biggest problems surrounding the president's diagnosis. We simply cannot trust that this White House has to say on the matter. This is a crisis where everything, the state of the campaign, the economy, the Supreme Court, the governance of the country, even management of the international crisis could change based on information on the president's health. No one has more direct authoritative knowledge on this topic than the president and his team. They should be able to help American public understand what's happening and provide guidance to leaders in Washington and abroad. Except we can't trust this White House, especially on the coronavirus. They have lied and lied constantly. And right now, the implications of this serial dishonesty are bigger than ever. The lying has always been terrible. Now it's a disaster. Presidents are, historically speaking, cagey about their health. So the presidents have routinely covered up or downplayed serious problems. Woodrow Wilson had an incapacitating stroke from he just hid a stroke from the public. JFK failed to disclose a panoply of problems ranging from Addison's disease to chronic back pain to maintain his youthful image. But Trump is extraordinarily dishonest by presidential standards. This summer, after being a fact check, was told over 20,000 falsehoods during his time in office. Let's call that what it is. Trump has told over 20,000 lies since his time in office, and that number dwarfs any similar count of any previous president. So, like I said, Melania, she tested positive too, but the stories are just not there. Stories are just not out there on her or her condition. But they did state that Hope Hicks, which just happens to be Trump's personal secretary, you might as well say, is always around Trump. What's going on there, Trump? What's going on between you and Hope Hicks over there? Anyway, Trump suggests U.S. Now this is what he came up with. These are all quotes. I'm not making this stuff up. Trump suggested U.S. troops or the police were to blame for infecting the White House staff just before he tested positive for COVID-19. Wow. Just a few hours before he and his wife tested positive for COVID-19, President Donald Trump suggested that interactions with the military and police were to blame for a member of his staff falling ill. After the news broke Thursday evening that senior aide and presidential advisor Hope Hicks had tested positive for COVID-19 after traveling with the president, Trump stated to Sean Hannity that she might have caught the virus from a member of the military or someone in law enforcement. She wears a mask a lot, but she tested positive, Trump told Hannity, before explaining that he and the First Lady had gotten tested because they had spent a lot of time with Hicks. It's very, very hard when you're with soldiers, when you're with airmen, when you're with the Marines and post officers and police officers, he continued to say. When they come over to you, it's very hard to say, stay back, stay back. It's tough. It's a tough kind of situation. It's a terrible thing. It's a very, very hard when you are with people from the military or from law enforcement and they come over to you, Trump said. They want to hug you and they want to kiss you because we really have done a good job for them. You get close and things happen. I was surprised to hear with Hope, but she's a very warm person with them, he said. She knows there's a risk, but she's young. Hicks frequently comes in contact with active duty military who fly the president's aircraft, serve as ceremonial guards, and greet him and top officials when he visits their bases. The president did not mention a specific instance when troops recently hugged Hicks. It's extremely unlikely for a service member in uniform to breach protocol with a hug, especially during the pandemic. Early Friday, Trump announced on Twitter that he and the First Lady, Melania Trump, tested positive for COVID-19. And it remains to be seen if the president will attempt to use the military or law enforcement as a possible explanation for his own positive test. Trump has repeatedly downplayed the severity of COVID-19, a virus that has infected millions of U.S. and claimed the lives of over 200,000 Americans. He has also mocked political opponents. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden just Tuesday at the debate, he just mocked Joe Biden for wearing masks and keeping his distance from supporters at events. It's unclear whether the president may have contracted the disease. He attended the first presidential debate this past week, as well as several rallies. In his travels, he has passed through frequently through Joint Base Andrews Naval Air Facility in Washington, and on Sunday, Trump attended a Gold Star Families event at the White House with Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Mark Milley, and other senior military leaders. Both Esper and the chairman tested negative. Wow. Man, I'm telling you, he's blaming everybody. But, I mean, it's your interaction with Hope Hicks. And y'all mighty, I don't know. Like I said, the virus bat has come home to roost. And here we go on to the next phase of this particular story. And this is one that we have to really, really watch, because we had conservative conspiracists, Jacob Wall and Jack Berman, charged in voter suppression probe. And they have been charged. They were charged Thursday with coordinating robocalls to suppress voters in the upcoming general election. Michigan Attorney General Nassel announced the charges, which include intimidating voters and conspiracy to violate election law. Nassel said the two specifically targeted minority voters to discourage them from voting. The calls allegedly told voters that voter information would be collected in a database to track down old police warrants and outstanding credit card debts, according to the news release. We are all aware of the frustration caused by millions of nuisance robocalls flooding our cell phones and landlines each day, but this particular message poses grave consequences for our democracy and the principles upon which it was built. The cell said that the release on Thursday, Michigan voters are entitled to a full, free, and fair election in November, and my office will not hesitate to pursue those that jeopardize that. The Michigan charges relate to calls focused on the Detroit area, but other similar robocalls were also reported in New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Illinois, according to the release. Wall and Berkman have been involved in a number of deceptive practices to debase those they view as adversaries to the conservatives. They fabricated sexual assault allegations against former Democratic candidate Pete Buttigieg and a White House coronavirus task force member Anthony Fauci and a former special counsel Robert Mueller. So these guys been active in doing a lot of propaganda and a lot of skullduggery and propaganda over there. So they literally had robocalls going to people's houses, telling them that if they go vote, that they would be swooped up and grabbed up for credit card debts and old police warrants. Total lies and total fabrications. And I'm telling you, man, these Republicans, man, are trying everything they possibly can to suppress the vote. Get out and vote. Mail in your votes early. Vote early. If you want to go vote in person, go vote. Don't wait till the last day. Vote now so they can get the majority of these votes in, so they can be counted early, so they won't try to delay it. But hey, come on, coronavirus. We got the virus bat has come home to roost. Telling you, it ain't what's going on here? What the heck? Hold on, folks. Peace. Peace.